Welcome back to the Wizard Weekly, where we talk about everything in gaming. PlayStation, they need your help. They need your guidance on where to go next with their business, as if they haven't heard the million complaints so far in the past 4 years. So in the last couple of days, many PlayStation users have been getting even more emails outside of the already PlayStation Stars email that went out early in the week telling you that, they were going to reset your whole come up plan to get free shit. And this time the new email is coming from Sony Interactive, inviting players to try out to get into this new PlayStation Owners Club, to where they're going to be linking surveys and getting overall insider reports from PlayStation users to hopefully use this information to be a better company in the future. Now, this isn't something that we haven't seen before, especially from, big name studios. Xbox, they obviously have their insider program that they've been doing for years now. And I guess it's just an overall effort for these studios to filter out the complaints that they get on the daily from, people just writing heinous shit to people that might actually care about what they're saying and give them actual constructive criticism. And I don't really mind this, even if it doesn't prevail to anything substantial in the future, at least they're acting like they care. Apparently, this PlayStation Owners Club is an invitation-only community where you can share your direct thoughts and feedback with PlayStation, but is even reports of this going back as far as up to 2022 from people getting emails similar to the one that they've been getting in these last couple of days. So apparently they've been planning on building this whole community system for a while now. And like usual, the Wizard discrimination continues because I did not get an email today, yesterday, the day before. They have just been excluding everything PlayStation related from me forever, and I don't know why that is. It's the hat. I know it's the hat. It gotta be the hat. But realistically, it seems like this PlayStation Owners Club email invite is chosen at random. There hasn't been any set criteria that's been shared by Sony or PlayStation regarding, who's gonna get invited. But apparently they're just asking overall console questions like, do you own the PlayStation 5 Pro? Do you plan on buying it? That's what people that did get this invite are saying. And they're just giving you a bunch of surveys like, how YouTube does every now and then when they ask you, was this ad relevant to you? And you just say, no, the fuck it was not. And like I said, this is cool for those that have it. If I get it, I'll answer the questions to the best of my ability. But hopefully, like I said, this just prevails to something that we can see an actual change in the future. Like as far as exclusives go and, what games that we want to see. It is an interesting time though, because they did just announce that the PlayStation 5 30th anniversary digital version is about to get a restock this upcoming I think this is Tuesday, which is the 29th. I don't know the exact date, but yeah, it's about to get a restock. So I guess at the same time they're pushing at your pockets and pushing at your opinion on what they're pushing at your pockets. So that's funny. Moving on, unfortunately I can't translate this video or any of its captions because none of it's in English, but what you have right here on the right is RGG Studios, the people behind the Yakuza franchise, Masayoshi Yokoyama, and he in this recent interview is claiming that, the recent Yakuza port on Nintendo Switch, Yakuza Kiwami, is performing incredibly well, which I love to see. Now, I recently got into this franchise in the last year. For the first time, I played Yakuza 0 back in September of last year, and this year in the past month I played Yakuza Kiwami, and these games are a really fun arcade beat 'em up with a really good story. And following the release of that new Yakuza series on Amazon, which I've yet to see or hear anything about it, which is, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but Yakuza Kiwami came out on Nintendo Switch for 20 bones not that long ago, and I just got hit with an age verification on this freaking Nintendo site. What the hell? But the game is dope, man. I'm definitely gonna be playing the rest of the games. There's about like 6 or 7 more in the main franchise, and I really am intrigued to continue playing this series. And what's really intriguing is the fact that these versions of the Yakuza games, even though they're pretty older, like the Yakuza Kiwami game came out back in 2016 for PlayStation 4 and PS3, but even then they're still remakes of the original 90s up to 2000s games that came out on PlayStation 2. And pertaining to that, one thing that Yokoyama says in the interview is the fact that he's really happy that these remade games that he didn't know at the time when they first developed them were going to be good or not, the fact that they have this much, cultural impact and are even loved players this much to this day, he's really proud of the studio for, how that turned out. And coming from a dude that never played the original Yakuza games, like I said, the older generations, I don't know if this is like a step down or a step up. Well, I would assume it's a step up as far as like combat goes, because Yakuza Kiwami, Yakuza 0 have some of the most fun and just overall over the top combat mechanics that I've ever seen in a video game. Like anytime you just go into a funeral and beat a whole bunch of Yakuza guys up with a freaking pole, like how Kiryu is doing right now, you got a banger of a title. And yeah, apparently a lot of Nintendo fans are hoping that more of these Yakuza ports come in the future, which Yokoyama also states is likely going to be in the works. But of course, we just have to wait and see what happens on that. And lastly for today, I wanted to briefly talk about something that I found, kind of interesting to see how it's going to pan out over the next couple of months to years, however long it takes. So one of the organizations I've talked about a lot on this channel in the past, in like my older style videos, is the Video Game History Foundation, which like the name states, they're a nonprofit organization designed to preserve, celebrate, and teach the history of video games. So like think of all the titles from like, the NES and N64 era of games that are really hard to come by now, either by price or they're just not being ported to these newer systems, but people still have the need to play them. But then you got beacons like Nintendo that will literally ruin your entire life if you try to emulate or get these games out there in a way that circumvents the payment. So the VGHF, their whole thing is to support people and have practices that keep games that we don't have that much access to in store and archive for the future. And for the past few years, they've been supporting another similar company, this one named the Software Preservation Network, which basically does sort of the same thing, except their business extends more to all digital preservation that exists over the internet. And a few years ago, the SPN, they proposed a petition against the DMCA Act that protects all forms of copyright. They asked for an exemption to have a clause or a rule to where they can access any form of a game by the use of any libraries or archivists that work for the SPN and support the whole cause to preserve these games. But unfortunately, the other day, that whole thing that lasted 3 years of fighting was turned down by the US Copyright Office, and they said that they would not grant any new exemptions in support of new video game preservation with the clause that they proposed. And the VGHF, in this whole excerpt, they basically just explain how disappointed they are in the decision by the Copyright Office, and hopefully call for anyone in the gaming industry to push back against this decision and hopefully get something overturned in the future. Now, while I am all for video game preservation, I can see the overall decision as to why the Copyright Office decided to go against this proposed rule, because even though this rule would give digital access to libraries and archive establishments to be able to access any game, even if they're out of print or not available anywhere else, at the same time that could just open up a can of worms for people to somehow exploit this. We always have situations where there's either like hackers or anyone with malicious intent that might give access to these games when they don't have the clearance to. But overall, even just the fact that these games, they don't belong to the people that are trying to get them, even though it really sucks that you can't play a game like X-Men Wolverine without coughing up a mortgage payment. The game is still owned by their mega conglomerate counterparts, since Activision lost a license a long time ago. And the bottom line is that those people have the right to do whatever they want to with their IP and not have to share it if they don't want to, even though tell any diehard emulator that and they'll just say challenge accepted. So it is a really interesting situation that the VGHF and the SPN are in right now, and hopefully they don't stop fighting and we can get some sort of working out with the Copyright Office and these video game holders. But of course, time's only gonna have to tell because it's not looking too good right now. But yeah, man, that's all I got for today, man. If you enjoyed, leave a like on the video, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.